When we look at fixer-uppers, we look at teams to not only see if we can make the playoffs, but also get into the NBA Finals. And, a couple of teams we're kind of really hopeful thinking of course, we talk about the Phoenix Suns, the New York Knicks, the Chicago Bulls. We really think of those teams as, trying to get to that playoff push. But there are some teams that could, like I talked about with Boston and LA, which are trying to get to that Western or Eastern Conference, respectively, finals, and also the NBA Finals itself. And here in the charge, we're going to be talking about a team that I feel could not only sneak into the Western Conference Finals, but maybe they can try and get a Finals playoff push.
LeBron James all the way in.
Here comes Simmons the other way, 3-on-2. Simmons eludes the defender and lays it in with that. Certainly the length altered that shot out of between the steps.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here, bringing you yet another video here in the charge, giving the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And before we get started on today's video, go and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Also, go and check out our other fixer-uppers we have here on the channel. We have, of course, videos talking about the LA Lakers, the Phoenix Suns, the Chicago Bulls. Can the Bulls make the playoffs in 2019? But right now, we got to talk about the Utah Jazz. Now, when we think about the Utah Jazz and Salt Lake City itself, there are a couple things that come to mind. One of them is, of course, the national parks and it being a really outdoorsy place. Another thing that we also talk about is the Mormon religion. But one thing that's secretly not talked about unless you're there from that area is basketball. Basketball is a huge favorite sport of the Salt Lake City area. Having been there when I was little and also going to college there, basketball is a really big thing. Of course, you have only one football team in Salt Lake City, and that is, of course, the University of Utah. But you only have one professional team, and that is, of course, the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz, they got some buzz a little bit a couple years ago, especially, with the Gordon Hayward thing. But nothing like I've seen today and how Donovan Mitchell really embraced the Salt Lake City life. And that's something I really appreciate about Donovan Mitchell, because I haven't felt this excitement about the Utah Jazz since the times that Carlos Boozer, Matt Harpring, Mehmet Okur, Andre Karolinko, and Derek Fisher were on that team. And of course, for the older guys, it may be the Utah Jazz 97-98 teams. But to me, Donovan Mitchell and Quinn Snyder and Rudy Gobert have really brought the excitement back to Salt Lake City, something that I think has been missing for a while. And just thinking about what this team can do to make the playoffs, if we think about it in a house perspective, this is a beautiful house on a new playing a field, in the South, especially when land is a little bit cheaper. You can build a really big house and you have some great appliances like Rudy Gobert being the foundation, especially as the defensive player of the year, being that foundation of the house that's really strong and sturdy. You have Donovan Mitchell as the exciting kitchen and backyard, and you have Quinn Snyder kind of as the constructor building this house out of great material. But of course, there are some pieces on this team to me that are a little bit, they're good, but they're a little bit outdated. And here on the charge, like I said, we're going to be talking about what they need to do. So the first position I think we need to discuss is, of course, the point guard position, and that is Ricky Rubio. Looking at the payroll and looking at the structure of their pay for next year, Ricky Rubio is going to be out of a contract next year in 2019-2020 because I don't think 2018-2019 is really going to be their year. They're going to make a good playoff push, but not to where I think they need to get to. So let's look at 2019-2020. Ricky Rubio is going to be out of a contract that year. I just don't think I like it at all that he's kind of going to be gone from the team. I think he's a great addition, but if he's going to be making more than that 15, 16 mil, then I think you have to let him go because you did re-sign Dante Exum to a 3-year extension worth 9.6 all the way up to 2021. A good, low risk, high reward type of situation because with Dante Exum, he's always been hurt. You don't know what you're getting from him ever since he was 18 and drafted out of Australia. It's just been a different player than I think a lot of people expected. A lot of people compared him to Kobe Bryant. I never saw that comparison. He didn't really scream that out to me, but maybe to some guys he did. But like I said, Dante Exum, it wouldn't be my pick to be the guy in that position if we were to upgrade the point guard position because I think, like I said, you can only upgrade one with the amount of money that they have. Let's look at some pieces that they got that they could get potentially. You got guys like Kemba Walker, who I think is a really good addition if you want to just get a guy that's similar in terms of playing ability to a guy like Donovan Mitchell. A scoring guard that can really score from anywhere. His three-point shot's not bad, but not good either. I think also another guy that you could add maybe is Rajon Rondo, a guy that really conducts the team. I just don't know if he would overshadow Quinn Snyder because Quinn Snyder, although he is a very explosive personality, especially if you see him on the bench sometimes, clashing with your young head coach isn't really something that I really like about Rajon, but maybe he stays in LA anyway, so who knows about that one. But I think another guy is Jeff Teague, but he's making 19 mil and he's going to be making 19 mil next year as a player option. I think he's just going to keep that because I don't see him ever leaving that contract because I don't think he's worth that much now. And like I said, I think the point guard position really comes down to Ricky Rubio. Do you re-sign him, or do you go with Dante Exum as the guy for the future? Dante Exum, to me, has the problem with him is that he's very injury prone. I know he's still young at 23 years old, and I'm going to give him kind of the Giannis type of thing where it's like I'm going to give him to like 25 to really, explode his game. Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, was, good all the way up until, this year, and probably going into next year, he exploded for about 25 to 26 points a game, and I think that's what he's going to do next year. But going back to the Utah Jazz, of course, like I said, this team is a very interesting team with the point guard position. It all depends on your cup of tea. Do you want a guy like Kemba Walker who's going to probably make around 20 mil, or do you want to re-sign Ricky Rubio for a little bit less, or, say, screw it, let's just go with Dante Exum as our starter? The next position, after going on a soliloquy about that, is, of course, the small forward position. In my opinion, I think this is the position that I would upgrade the most. As much as I love Joe Ingles as the small forward, I think, in my opinion, you move him down to the sixth man, because he could be that Manu Ginobili type of player. I know, the gimmick is that he's an international lefty, but I think with Joe Ingles, he just screams instigator. He just screams Manu Ginobili-like because of the way that he got into Paul George, the way that he scores the rock. I mean, he's a guy that you would think that he's like a truck driver or something. You wouldn't think that he's a ball player, but he balls out, and I think with Joe Ingles, he's a guy that I think should be moved down a notch to the sixth man of the year type of player, and have a guy like, in my opinion, that you should try and get, and that's, of course, Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton also has a player option, but it's going to be 13 mil. But in this market, and with Chris Middleton's ability, I think he can make way more than 13 mil. 13 mil is a little bit low for Chris Middleton, and he's already in a small market in Milwaukee. Why not try and see if Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert or any of these guys can try and get Chris Middleton to come to Salt Lake City to help out this team? Because I think with his ability as a 3-and-D guy, he's going to bring a lot more to the table as a starter than I think Joe Ingles will. And if you decide to bring him in, you can, have Donovan Mitchell play the 1, Ingles play the 2, and then have Chris Middleton play the 3 in some sort of fascination of that type of lineup. And that would be a really good lineup, in my opinion. Another guy you could try and go for is Wilson Chandler, who's going to be making 12 mil next year for the Philadelphia 76ers. Maybe get him on a little bit of a lesser contract, but I think, in my opinion, you go with Chris Middleton. There are other guys like Harrison Barnes, but he also has a player option, going to be making 25 mil. I don't think he's going to let go of 25 mil because he's not worth that Skrilla anymore. He's not worth 25 mil, and he's going to try and hold on to as much money as he can as he tries to move on in his future career. But like I said, if we move Joe Ingles to the sixth-man position and bring in a guy like Chris Middleton, that would be the perfect position for me. Another guy that you could potentially replace and upgrade is Derek Favors. Even though he's going to have a 2-year contract left in 2019-2020, you could decide to move Derek Favors down to the bench and bring in a guy like Julius Randle, a guy that really impressed me, not only in his workout videos that I've seen on Instagram and other social media sites. I think he's a guy that could potentially be a really good player for the Utah Jazz, as he's more of a scoring option than Rudy Gobert is, and he can create his own bucket down low. And really, the thing that I saw with him playing with the Lakers this year is that he is able to expand his game. He's got a little bit of a three-point shot, and with all the videos that I'm seeing of him shooting, it looks like a solid fluid motion. I think that he's a guy that I would want to add to my team as quickly as possible. Although he has a player option of 9 mil for next year, I think he's going to decline that because he can make way more than that. He can make at least 20 mil. And I think the Utah Jazz would be smart enough to really try and re-sign him. Another guy you could try and go for, of course, is Tobias Harris, even though I think the Clippers have their bird rights. So I think with... Actually, no, I don't know if they do have their bird rights. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on the bird rights of Tobias Harris. But another guy that could be a really stretch, small forward, power forward type of tweener guy. He's another guy that I think that the Utah Jazz could potentially add to this team and really make it a team of decent shooting. If you have a team of, let's look at their depth chart again, Ricky Rubio or Dante Exum with Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, whether you play him at the 3 or the 4, you have Tobias Harris and then Rudy Gobert. Again, another good lineup, and I think adding guys like Chris Middleton or Tobias Harris could be a really good option for the Jazz to really be a team that could be founded on the identification of coaching and, hard work, kind of Brad Stevens-esque. Because I know a lot of people compare the Utah Jazz to the Boston of the West, but in my opinion, I think it's a little bit more impressive what the Utah Jazz are doing because they don't have the star players and they don't have the draft picks and the surplus of draft picks that the Boston Celtics have. And that's another thing that the Utah Jazz can go into. I know according to NBADraft.net, the Utah Jazz are supposedly selecting Simi Satu, who's a guy from Vanderbilt, a power forward. But in my opinion, looking at the comparisons, I haven't really watched a lot of him being honest. Just watching some of the highlights that it has here on NBA Draft.net, he doesn't look like a bad player. Obviously, I think he is not a guy that's a really good shooter at a guy that's 6'9", 6'10", with not a very long wingspan. It looks like he's only 6'11" wingspan. It's still long compared to regular people, but for NBA, it's a little bit short. There's a lot of moves that the Utah Jazz can go into, and it's going to be an interesting thing what they want to do with this. Like I said, they have a lot of different avenues that they can go. Maybe they decide to get the point guard. Maybe they decide to get the power forward in the draft. Who knows what they do in terms of that, but in my opinion, I think you get a guy like Chris Middleton, move Joe Ingles to the sixth man, and kind of keep Derek Favors, see if Shimi Satu can be another good player to add to your team, or maybe get a point guard that we haven't really heard about that the Utah Jazz grab. And that's really going to be it for this Utah Jazz fixer-upper. Like I said, this team is a team that, if we look at them structurally and looking at them in 2021 and 2019, 2020, they're a team that could potentially be making a playoff push and sneakily surpass maybe the LA Lakers in a rivalry that I really liked watching when Derek Favors was on the Utah Jazz team, when the Lakers went against the Utah Jazz. Great rivalry that I liked between them when Carlos Boozer was on that team. And the real question is, can they win a championship in that 2019, 2020, or 2021, as some of those contracts will be expiring at that point, especially Donovan Mitchell entering his final year of that rookie deal. I want to say in my heart of heart that they can at least get to the NBA Finals, but the real question is, do they want to pass that and win a championship? In my opinion, it's really going to be tough because, like I said, the Utah Jazz don't really attract stars' attention. They don't attract the Jimmy Butlers, the Klay Thompsons, the Kawhi Leonards. And it's not any fault of the organization itself. It's just the area that they're in. It's not a historical franchise. It's not a glamour franchise. It's more of a small market franchise. And it's just the reality of small markets. You're not going to get the best players. You're not going to get always the right pieces. You have to really build through the draft, and that's what the Utah Jazz have done throughout their years. I mean, they got a guy in Rudy Gobert in the later rounds who really should have been a top 10 pick, and you also have guys in Donovan Mitchell who should have been in the top 5 pick as well, going, I believe, 13 or 16? Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong down below. But the Utah Jazz are a team, like I said, they need to build through the draft. I mean, we saw the Golden State Warriors do it. They're not really that big of a franchise, but now that they've built equity, you got guys like Kevin Durant to come over. And I think that's what the Utah Jazz need to do. If you can build equity in terms of getting this team being solid and really, contending each and every year, maybe getting to the NBA Finals in that 2021 season, then I think you can attract the big stars that are going to be free agents in that 2021 class to come play in Salt Lake City, get a couple championships, and really put Utah back on the map. As, it was really in New Orleans where the organization was, but then they moved out to Salt Lake City. And I think if you were able to win a championship, it would be probably the greatest accomplishment that the Salt Lake City, especially in sports, would ever have. Even though, you had the University of Utah go to all those Fiesta Bowls and National Championship Bowls, I think it would be more impressive, in my opinion, to get the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals and finally win it, because I think this team deserves it. And like I said, I love Donovan Mitchell's game. I think he's a great player. He just needs a lot more help, and hopefully someone will come to his aid to help him out, because he can't just do it with Rudy Gobert and him alone along with Quinn Snyder. He's going to need another co-pilot to help this team really become what I think they can go from, like, right here, which is a good middle-of-the-road playoff team, to eventually becoming that Western Conference Finals champion and maybe contending for the NBA Finals. But what do you guys think in the comments down below? Do you guys agree with my opinions on the players that they should bring in? Do you guys agree with the draft pick that I talked about with Simi Satu? Or do you think that there's another point guard, power forward, or small forward that the Utah Jazz should grab? If you're a Utah Jazz fans, what is your expectation for this season, but for the future here on out? I'd love to know your guys' opinions down below. And also let me know about the Frank Kaminsky situation, about the lasagna. Did the lasagna help Michael Porter Jr.'s back injury heal fully in time? I want to know your comments down below. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie here on the Fixer Upper on the Utah Jazz, and also giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.